Good evening and welcome to Spark of Light Spiritual Chat Show. My name is Alice Trevorrow. I'm a spiritual medium and psychic. And tonight we have two lovely guests on the show. We have Rob Gutro, who is from America. And Rob is a spiritual medium. He's also a pet medium as well. Rob has got award-winning books that he has wrote. I've read one of them. I'm planning on reading more of them as well. They're excellent. He's also a scientist. He's a paranormal investigator as well. And he does like ghosts versus spirits, you know, so he does a lot in the paranormal with that too. And we will be having Rob back for part 2. And that will be Ghost versus Spirit. And that will be next Tuesday at 8 p.m. But tonight we will be planning on actually talking about pet mediumship. And it is a very interesting topic that I'm very keen to just go in a little bit further with Rob tonight. So I'm looking forward to that. We also have our second guest, who is Yvette Cruz. And Yvette is also a spiritual medium. She's an accredited belief coding facilitator. And that is all about healing past traumas and limited beliefs as well. And she also does heart central healing. And it's for adults and also for children, which has worked very well with many clients, which we will also talk to Yvette about. Yvette has also helped with the crossing over of our ghosts or spirit friends to spirit world, and she has quite a few interesting stories to talk about regarding this. But again, that will be in part 2. Tonight will be all about pet mediumship, also about the healing as well, that comes forward from spirit world. So I would like to now welcome my other host, and that is, of course, Judith Miller. So hi, Judith. Hi. How are you?
How are you?
I'm all right. Yes, I'm all right. Yeah. Looking forward to tonight. Yeah.
It should be a good night. I'm trying to move out. I've got the sun beaming down through the glass on me, so I'm trying to shuffle around here as to which place is best for me.
Well, tonight, as everybody knows, we do go live onto our own YouTube pages, which will be advertised underneath the grid, just underneath there. And we also will go live on Thursday, 8 p.m. on Spotify, Apple, and all major platforms as well. So if you have missed this evening, you can catch up with the audio version, which will be on Thursday at 8 o'clock. But tonight we will be doing both, okay? And we will also later on be doing some readings as well. So please stay on, join us, share as well that we're here, and please subscribe and like our page as well. So yeah, so now I would like to invite our first guest, Rob Gutro. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, Rob. And I'll just bring you on now to the stage. Hi, Rob. Hi there. Did I pronounce your name okay?
Yes, you did. Hi, Alice. Hi, Judith. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. It's
nice to meet you, Rob.
Yeah, great to have you on your show. It's really great to have you here. I am so interested in finding out a lot more about what you do and where it's all started. But before that, I would like to bring on our second guest, who is Yvette Cruz. So Yvette, you're okay? All right, Yvette. Hi there. Hi, Yvette. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Oh, great.
Good evening, Yvette.
Great. Now, I know you're quite new out in your journey, Yvette, so it's nice to have that as well and share, you know, what you're doing and also to help you progress forward as well here. So it's great that you are coming on here to do that with us. So the first half, I would like to discuss a little bit here about with Rob, because it's important here we talk about why you're on the show, Rob. Okay. Now, I know that you connect. We will talk about the other side of it in part 2 next week, but I know you do connect very well with the animal kingdom.
Mhm.
Where did all that start for you? Did it start with mediumship when you were a child, or have you always connected with spirit world on both capacities? Obviously, animals and spirit people, they're all the same. They've all got beautiful souls, you know. So where did it begin with you?
Yeah, so it actually began when I was a teenager, and it began with my grandfather, who appeared to me and frightened me. And it turned out that my mother had that ability, but she didn't use it. She was afraid of it.
Yeah.
And she confessed that my grandfather, the one who appeared to me, also had that ability. So it runs in my family. But it wasn't until decades later, 2005, when I had a puppy, a Weimaraner puppy named Buzz, who was 7 months old. When I was walking him and his leash opened, he ran across the street and was killed by a car.
Oh.
And he reawakened my abilities, and he was, over the course of a year, he taught me many ways that pets communicate from the afterlife, and I wrote them down, and that became the basis for my first book.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So all began with that. So have you got any stories that you would like to share with people? Because as we all know, when we lose a pet, it's heart blowing. You know, it's really, you know yourself. I lost mine about 9 weeks ago. So it is very tough. It's tough. So what has your experiences been then with bringing an animal through to someone who comes to you? You know, what has your experiences been? Because I love your books. Your books are very healing. They're just, you know, they really do touch your soul. They really do. You know, and I read one of your books. I think it was, I can't remember which one it was. It was, I think it was the first one, and it certainly helped me. You know, even although as a medium I know soul survival, etc., in spirit world, it doesn't take away the pain. But it was nice to just listen and read what your perspective was on it.
Thank you, and I'm so sorry about Cassie's passing.
Thank you.
I know that I have read psychological studies too about why it's so devastating that when our pets pass, we actually can often grieve more deeply for the passing of a pet than the passing of a person.
Yeah.
Because we raise them exactly like children. We raise them the same way we raise human children. We educate them, we teach them words, we teach them habits, we teach them to play well with others, we take them to the doctor when they're sick, we take them to school to learn obedience. We teach them how to go outside to go to the bathroom. And I always tell people that the only difference between a dog and a cat and a human child is that the dog or cat will never marry someone you don't like and move away.
Yeah. That's so true. Yeah, that's so true.
So psychologically, it's devastating to us because we look at them as children, and we're not supposed to outlive our children, but although we know that they only live to be, somewhere between 12 and 15 years old. So that's why it's so hard, and that's why I wrote the books too. That once my dog Buzz taught me all the different ways that they communicate, and there's more and more every day that I'm finding out. I wanted to share that with people and have them read about that so that they could learn what to look for and they can get healing by themselves.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Rob, could I ask, do you just connect with our fur babies? I have a fur baby too, so we're very much animal lovers. Is it just fur babies who have passed? Is it those that you connect with, or do you connect with fur babies that are still on this earth and maybe lost, or do you track and help find lost animals?
Oh, that's a really good question, Judith. So I look at someone who can communicate with living animals as an animal communicator. So I consider myself a pet medium, which means I can only communicate with those who passed. People have asked me to help find their lost pets, and I give it my best. I mean, I am actually also a dog rescuer. I work with animal rescue, dog rescues. So I know how lost dogs and cats behave once they leave the home, and I can give them advice that way. But I'm not able to necessarily find them. I know that I have led somebody to find one dog in a haystack somewhere like miles away from their house. I don't know how I did it, but no, I communicate mostly with the pets that passed.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you say you communicate with the pets that pass, do they come through with like a grandfather or a dad, or do they come through with other human beings, or do they just come through themselves? How do they come through to you? Because I know for me, when I get a pet coming through from spirit world, they're never on their own. They're with either their dad, their grandfather, or there's a brother. It's always somebody in the family that they're actually with. Like Cassie's came through, but she's came through with my dad, and that wasn't me doing that. That was someone who brought that in for me. How does it work for you? How does it work with you when you?
It works the same, actually. So usually they will tell me who they met when they first crossed over, or when they're about to cross over. Like once their physical body passes, they will describe who's standing there, and it's more often than not, it's another pet. It's another dog or cat first, and then there's a human behind them.
Yeah.
So that's often how I see them.
Yeah. Do you know what I wanted to ask you was, do you believe that before a pet or animal, dog or cat, or do you believe that they know they're leaving us?
I do, and that's brings up a good topic to discuss here too. Is that I've noticed that when pets start to separate themselves from us, when they start being socially isolating, that's one of their ways of telling us that it's their time to go. Also, one thing I've learned by connecting with pets is that they choose really how they want to pass. And what I mean by that is that sometimes if a pet parent will go to work and their pet is sick, the pet may choose to pass while they're away.
Yeah.
And the reason they do that is because they know that the pet parent will be too emotionally distraught to watch them pass in their arms, for instance. And they don't want their pet parents to have that memory imprinted in their minds, so that's all they see over and over again. Instead, they want their pet parent to remember them as healthy and alive and the way that they were. So for any listeners whose pet passed when you weren't there, please understand that they did that on purpose. My mother did the same thing. She waited until everybody got out of her hospital room, and then she passed. Well, they make the same choices that humans do when it comes to passing.
Yeah. Feel free to ask any questions, and yourself too, Yvette, any questions at all to Rob. Okay. And that goes to the audience as well.
Can I ask you, Rob, whenever you've connected to a loved one's pet who has passed, and you're having that conversation with them, do they tell you anything about, I'm really interested, it might sound a bit peculiar, but do they ever talk about other lives that they've had? Do they ever share about other lifetimes? Like ourselves, not everybody believes in it, I understand. But there's great evidence to show that there's something there. So would you ever get that from a pet that's passed?
They don't. They haven't discussed past lifetimes, but what they will tell me is that they usually will not come back in this life as another pet. Instead, they will lead us to the next pet they want us to adopt. And I have a couple of fun stories about that. And they will also come back and train the new pet to either do some of the things they used to do, have a habit that they used to do, or teach them how to be a better dog or cat for us. But there have been so many instances where I've learned that the pet in spirit is training the new pet and leading us to a new pet, that some of them are really fun stories.
It's funny you should say that, because we've always had dogs, and each dog has seen its life out with us. So going back to 2 fur babies ago, that is now passed, I feel that the fur baby, every single fur baby, I've always said, teaches you something new, always comes to teach you something. And we were moving into an empty nest with our youngest going to university, and we have a cockapoo now, and we always had Rottweilers, and he very much was the child coming back into this house, and the rebel and the toddler years. But I feel that he's been guided by a few of our fur babies, because he's got quite a few traits of them all, when you say it like that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, and there's me thinking he was just being really, yeah, that makes sense, because he's got quite a few traits. So he has, yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Rob.
I was going to share a story with you about how pets lead us to the next pet they want us to adopt, and sometimes when I do readings, they will tell me whether they want us to adopt a female or a male dog or a cat or a horse or rabbit, or I've done readings for all of them. And some of them are really funny. They will say that I want to be the only female pet in the house, so they need to adopt a male the next time and never adopt another female, because that makes me important. They will always remember me. And then there are stories where a woman had shared with me that her dog, she had a dog who passed away, who was black and white, and she did not want to adopt another black and white colored dog. She went online and she found a dog that she fell in love with in a rescue. She had put money down on the rescue. She came to get the dog, and the dog was adopted that morning, and by somebody else. So she was devastated. The next dog they brought out was black and white, and she thought for a minute, and she thought, this is not what I wanted to adopt, but she fell in love with the dog, and she wound up taking the dog home and adopting the dog. So she wrote me and she said, why would my dog in spirit lead me to a dog that looked like her? And I said, because your dog wants you to remember that she's still around, even with your new dog, and she's helping your new dog fit in with the family. So that made more sense to her. Yeah.
And you see, now you said that, we only ever had one female dog. They've always been males, especially. Yeah, the female was the first family dog we had, and then they've always been males after that. And actually, she got jealous. She was the only dog that got jealous if there was other attention going on around her.
Perfect.
I totally get that. So I do, yeah. So our fur babies are being. Our female is controlling which ones we get.
Yes.
Interesting. What about you, Alice? What about you, Yvette?
Yeah, well, for me, our last dog was male. Ben was male, and so was Rory. That was a male dog as well. And Brandy before that was a male dog. But then we had Lady had Lady, that was a female. But just now we've got a cockapoo, Mia, and she's just an absolute delight. She's beautiful. But we had Mia and Cassie, but terrible grief that that Mia has been going through. And only animal lovers would understand that, because she's still going up and down with it. And just like myself, I'm still going up and down with it as well. Some days she seems like she's coming back to normal again, and then other days she stops eating, she becomes a bit withdrawn, you've got to, really put more attention there on her as well. So do you agree with me? Animals do grieve. Would you agree with me on that?
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely. And when their sibling passes, they really go into a deep state of grief, and that's when they need more time with us.
Yeah.
To help them get through it.
Yeah.
When we had 2 dogs pass in 2020, our Weimaraner Dolly and our dog Franklin, and they passed within 5 months of each other. Franklin was 16 and a half, Dolly was almost 16. And our other dog, Tyler, a small dachshund, was bonded to the Weimaraner, and he was grieving deeply. He would just be not himself. He would be miserable and not, he wouldn't be as engaging. So I spent extra time with him, and that's what we have to do with our other pets that are still left behind.
Yeah, it's just giving that enforcement, isn't it, of more love and keeping them busy as well, Of course. Any other stories about pets coming from the afterlife? Any other?
Oh gosh, I have tons of stories.
I love stories. Yeah.
So
something.
we've talked about how our loved ones are waiting for our pets, and one of the stories that really gets to me is that when my dog Dolly was about to pass, she had at 16 she suffered a ruptured disc, and she couldn't be surgically operated on, and it immediately made her paralyzed in the back. She couldn't walk, and we knew that she had to cross over the next day. She was almost 16 for a Weimaraner. Those are 75-pound dogs. So, and she let me know. But the night that happened, I slept. I laid in the kitchen with her. She was on the bed in the kitchen with our dachshund, who was bonded to her. Every night for a year, by the way, we would do that. We would go in the kitchen. We would wait till she fell asleep, and then we would go in the bedroom, and I would carry our dachshund into the bedroom and let Dolly sleep in the kitchen. Well, that night at 3 o'clock in the morning, she woke up, and she wouldn't, and she stood up as much as she could with her front paws, and she kept staring at one part of the kitchen. And I was trying to get her to lay down, but I finally looked over at that part of the kitchen, and standing there was my mom and dad, who had passed, and our friend Ed, and our 3 dogs, including Franklin, the one that had just passed. And I knew that they were waiting for her, and they were trying to tell me that she would be okay. And it was gone in like 3 seconds. And the next day, I sent a text to my friend Ruth Larkin, who is the Beantown medium in Boston. And I just told her, I said, Dolly passed. And she said, well, Rob, your parents were there waiting for her. And she said, there was some guy that I don't recognize, some guy in his 30s, and there were 3 dogs. And she lives hundreds and hundreds of miles away from me, so she doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
And she saw the same people and the same dogs that I saw.
Yeah.
So they are definitely there.
Yeah. True confirmation. Yeah.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. But I can tell you, so I can tell you stories about what kinds of signs that our pets will give us.
Yeah.
So you may hear audible sounds like barks and meows. They always sound like they're coming from another room because it takes so much energy.
Right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
We heard Franklin bark, and a gentleman conveyed that he had his horse passed away, and he was feeding his other horses in a barn 2 weeks later, and he heard the distinct whinny of his horse that passed outside the barn, so loud that he had to drop what he was doing and go out and look, and there was nobody there.
Mm-hmm.
You may see them as a shadow. You may see them as an actual visible image of themselves, but it takes a lot of energy to do that. That's why they appear as shadows. As shadow figures, it doesn't take a lot of energy to appear as an outline.
Mm-hmm.
I always explain to people that if you think of a light bulb on a dimmer switch and you turn it all the way down, you can only see the outline.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is with low energy, with spirit trying to visit. When you turn that up, you can see them in full color.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they may lead you to another dog or cat that looks like them, either on TV or, or walking out. They also influence birds and butterflies and other animals in nature to behave oddly, especially around birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays.
Mm-hmm.
So those are just some examples.
Yeah. Rob, have you so when every time we get a new fur baby, I would get a ribbon and I rub it all over them, and I rate, and I always rate, their energy and who they were, and what you said earlier. Every dog that we've had so far did not reincarnate from a dog. They were all a person, and they showed me their life, and they told me why they reincarnated in the way they did. Have you ever tried that, like with your living dogs, tried to do psychometry with the ribbon?
No, I have not. We have dachshunds, and they're pretty stubborn, so they're challenging on their own.
We have a cockapoo, and this at the moment, and when we rescued him when he was 4 months, but the people we rescued him off didn't tell us he had pneumonia, so it took over a year to treat him and to keep him in and out of Fur Baby Hospital. But I would do a lot of healing, and he would not let you heal him. He would not. He wouldn't let you put the crystals on him. He was just so stubborn that I don't know why, but for some reason he got so excited when he seen he was going to the vets, and I'm thinking it should be the other way around. Yeah. But over a year we treated him for pneumonia, and he's 2.5 now, and now he's doing brilliant. But he was very stubborn in his nature, in the sense that he wouldn't allow you to try and give him healing. He just wouldn't.
Wow.
So they've got their own personalities, haven't they?
Oh yeah. They sure do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I understand what you were talking about visually seeing an animal. It was actually last week. You know how when you're kind of in and out of sleep, you're in the midst of that cusp, and our Mia comes to bed with us. She sleeps in the bed with us, and she's great. You wouldn't never. She doesn't even annoy you. She's just a wee darling. She really is. And I seen what I thought was, I could see her white tail, and what I thought was her jumping off the bed, because I could hear jumping off the bed and then starting to walk out the room. So I was trying to come to, and I said, Mia, where are you going? And then the next minute I got licked from behind me, because she was lying behind me on the top of my pillow. Top of my pillow, and I was like, oh, but I believe it was Cassie. I believe it was Cassie, because Cassie was white and tan, but she had a lot of white in her. She was a Springer Spaniel. And I believe it was Cassie, because I even felt the weight going off the bed, you know, and I could hear the drop going on the floor, and I could see the white tail, and I could see walking out the room. But what a shock I got though when I said, "Mia, where are you going?" And the next minute, she's right behind me, giving me a lick, you know. And then I realised that was definitely Cassie. And at night time as well, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I hear, because Cassie used to sleep down the stairs. It's just something she liked doing, so she slept down the stairs in her bed, and sometimes I hear as if she's walking about during the night, you know. Not every night, but there's definitely some nights I hear it really quite strongly, you know. But somebody said to me, oh, maybe she's stuck then. And I was looking, no, she's not stuck. She's just coming to pay us a visit. She's just coming back home now and again, you know. She's not stuck, you know. But so you've experienced that as well then with your own dog, you know?
Oh gosh, I've experienced all of that. Yes. Yeah, all of that and more. And one of the other things too is that I always tell people to watch your living pets, because I have learned that living pets have a different physiology in their eyes and their ears and their sight and their hearing. And because of that, they can see and hear earthbound ghosts or spirits who have crossed over. In terms of their eyes, they have different cones and rods in their eyes that make up their eyes. And that allows them to see faster movement. And as a paranormal investigator, we use high-speed cameras to catch quick snapshots of maybe a spirit or a ghost moving. They don't need that. They can see it head on. Also, because dogs and cats can hear at different frequencies that we can't, they can hear spirit. If you think of a dog whistle cannot be heard by a human, but dogs can hear it. In paranormal investigating, we use digital recorders that record higher and lower frequencies, and then we play them back after we ask a question. But dogs and cats don't need that. They can hear them and see them. So watch your dogs and cats, especially around birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays. Anniversaries like anniversary of passing, anniversary of adoption.
Yeah.
And if they're staring at what appears to be nothing, and it doesn't have to be on floor level, by the way, because spirits don't need a floor to stand on. They can be up here.
Yeah.
It's funny you should say that. With our fur baby, with Benjamin, who we have now, he's the most spoiled fur baby we've ever had, like the most spoiled ever. And at Christmas, Santa leaves him presents under the tree, and his stockings left up for Christmas Eve, and they have matching pajamas with our daughter who travels back. So when we as you do, you get the video out and you're videoing them, and the last 2 years we've been with Benjamin, he's coming running down the stairs and he stops. And he knows in past that room Santa has been, and he looks with excitement, and all you can see is orbs all around him.
Oh my gosh.
And when he goes in then and gets his stocking and his presents, and there's just orbs all around him. And I always said I firmly believed it was all the fur babies coming together. And they're circling around. There's ones who circle around us and family, but then there's other ones that circle around him. It's like you can really see the difference, actually. So that's pretty cool when you hear that. I must start paying attention to like the dates. We know his birthday, but the dates we adopted him as such. And the dates of our other dogs' passings. Yeah, that's very interesting. That's something to look out for. I'll be this the whole time now.
The scent of a dog as well. I mean, their scent is so strong. You know, when we brought Cassie home, her ashes are under one of our tables, and it's in a lovely container. And it was it was on that night. We brought her home in the afternoon, and it was on that night. And Mia came out of the kitchen, and she just walked straight down to where the table was, and put her head right underneath the table where the actual container of ashes were, and she was smelling all round about it. And then she kept her head on the glass part of the table, and she just kept her head, never, just kept it there right in front. And we just looked at each other and we were just like, she knows that's Cassie that's in there. She knows. And she just kept her head like that for quite a little while. And then she got up, and then she walked out into the hall, and she walked right round where the hall is and hid herself away. And I thought, you know, I'll go and get her, bring her back in again. But then she just went away back out and round the corner again. And I thought, she's wanting just some time on her own. And so she did it, and she's never done it since. But the other night, there was a noise that came from that end of the room. And we both heard it. And she just jumped off my lap, and she went away over to where the noise came from, and she just kept looking and staring, and she was looking at, definitely seeing something. She didn't bark or anything like that, but she definitely was seeing something, you know, but she wasn't frightened either, you know, and she didn't seem like, you know, that she was wanting to play, or, you know, she just was just standing looking at whatever she was seeing. So yeah, you would agree they definitely do see. So I agree with you on that. You know, they definitely see. I wish I had their eyes.
Adele, have you ever had any pets that you've noticed anything with?
Who, me?
Yes.
Sorry.
Did you ever?
Do you know, I'm just looking, actually. I've got one on my wall, a sign from my pets. I used to have 2 cats. And yeah, they both passed, I think, about a year. There was a year gap. Like you said, my second one, she was grieving for quite a long while, and I think she was just ready to go and join her mama. But I remember that actually it was my pets that were the first things that I heard sort of spiritually. And it was kind of, I was like, oh my goodness, but I knew it was them. So I wasn't as afraid, because I know that they love me. And it started off with, I was just sitting in bed one night watching telly, and all of a sudden I heard the running of my cats across my floor. And I was like, oh, and then I heard the ringing of the collar on their bell.
Oh, wow.
And I remember thinking, like a few days later, I was thinking, which one was that? Because I had 2. And it was just really sort of serendipitous, because a couple of days later, I had a dream about my friend's pet rat. I didn't know she had a pet rat, but this rat had come to me in a dream, told me its name, and I was like, this is Lauren has a pet rat. So I rang my friend the next morning. I said, Lauren, I've had a dream. Did you used to have a pet rat? And she said, yeah. I went, his name was something like Scabby Scatters or Scabby. She went, oh, his name was Scabbers. How did you know that? And I was like, this rat came to me in a dream, and he's in your house coming to say hello, apparently.
Wow.
And we were having this conversation, sort of going, oh my God, your pet rat comes to visit you. That's so beautiful. And at the exact same moment, I spotted on my wall, whilst I'm on the phone, a wet, like do you know when there's a leak coming from the above apartment, and it left like a wet patch on the top of the ceiling. And I was staring at this whilst I'm talking to my friend on the phone, talking about her pet rat coming to visit me in the dream to tell her that she's scratching on the walls or something. And I was like, oh, this wet patch looked like my cat, one of my cats. And I was like, oh my God, they were answering when I'm asking which cat is it. It was Flick. So I sent a picture to my friend whilst I'm on the phone to her. I went, can you see that? Can you see that looks like a cat? And she said, yes. But in the end, she could actually see another cat. And when I could finally see the 2 cats in this sort of really weird blob, one looks like each of my cats, and I was like, they're telling me it was both of them. And to this day, it's been about 2 years, I've not painted that wet patch, because that's my little portrait. That's my little portrait of my babies up in my room. If you look at it from one angle, it looks like one of my cats, and if you look at it from another, it looks like the other. And I was like, and I have never forgotten that since. And I leave that sort of weird looking patch on my wall, because I'm like, those are my babies. That's their portrait. Like, so, yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah, it is amazing. Rob, can I ask? I'm asking. I'm quite curious, because when our loved ones pass, they come back, and they're very much, who they were, their personality, their sense of humor, who they were. Our animals are very similar, are they?
Similar to us, or our daughter, when we lost, we knew we were losing our fur baby, our dog. Mm-hmm.
And our daughter was very young at the time, and we thought, she's not going to cope. So her dad, no, it wasn't me. Her dad thought it was a really good idea to get her guinea pigs. And I was like thinking, no, it's not a good idea, because I'm scared of them. And her dad honestly thought, no, when we went to buy them, he said, look, you can't buy one if she's at school all the time, because we're going to get depressed and lonely. You need to buy 2. So not only did we have one that I'm scared of, we ended up with 2 that I'm scared of. So the rule was, they're not allowed out. They're not allowed. She used to let them run around and put them in a ball, and I call them fur balls, because they really, really scared me. I'm really nervous and scared of guinea pigs. They're like rats, what you were saying. They're like rats. And they just scared me. And she lost, a couple of years later, one, she came down, one had passed. And then the other one was grieving for the one that had passed. And it ended not very well, and like 6 or 7 months later. So we took it to the vet, and it wasn't going to survive. So we thought, this is a process we need to let our daughter go through with her own pet, because it's showing her grief, it's showing her the process. And she actually dealt with it so much better by helping her go through that and letting her lead that way with her own guinea pig. But honestly, they've come back and haunted me ever since. Everywhere I look, it's the 2 of them together. And I actually keep saying to my daughter, I honestly think they're doing that for badness, because they knew I was scared of them in life. So it's a gimmick and a laugh with us. But at the same time, when you talk about animals and they're passing over, have you found that it's easier to let children go through that process with their pet, as in it's their pet, let them lead that way and be supportive to them?
Yeah, we all need to work through the process, and that includes your other pets too. When we had to help our dog Dolly pass, we called a mobile veterinarian to come in, and we let her pass in the backyard, surrounded by our other dogs, so that they could acknowledge her and go over to her before and afterward. And that actually helped them work through her passing, I think, a lot easier. So yeah.
You did that with Cassie, didn't you, Alice?
Yeah, it was the vet that actually said, bring your other dog along, and she needs to be part of this. Because I was lying on the floor with Cassie in the vets, and I just talked her through the whole process. And Mia sat with her dad, on the chair, and she watched everything. And after Cassie passed, she was brought down to smell Cassie and just to be around her during that time. And she's never, what the vet said was, it will stop her from going on a hunt at home looking for her, because she knows exactly what's happened to Cassie, and she's never went looking for her. She's never went looking for her. But apparently, you know, if you do that and then come home, then the dog will just, where's the other one? You know, so we were advised to do that. Yeah.
So I have I have a cat story that I would love to share. Because we haven't talked about cats, and I feel bad that we haven't talked about cats yet. So one of my fourth book is Pets in the Afterlife, 4 Messages from Spirit Cats. So it's only about cats. I give them equal time. And in one of the chapters, I call it Lucky Lou's Adele message, because this pet mom named Tiffany wrote me about her cat, Lucky Lou, and she wanted to know different things, like how is he, you know, who's he with, anything that I could tell her. And what Lou said to me was, "Hello from the other side." And I thought, okay, that's a song by Adele. So I wrote her and I said, although I purposely wasn't quoting Adele, that's what Lou said to me. That's what happened. And she wrote me back and she says, "I love Adele." And she said after I read your message, I had to take my kids out to play. So we got in the car, and I never have the regular radio on, but when I fired up my car, immediately the first song that came up was "Hello from the Other Side" by Adele. Yeah. And she knew that Tiffany, Lucky Lou rather, was in the car with her. Yeah. And she just thought that was amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, songs hold powerful messages, and I know from analysis, our loved ones will maybe give us the name of a song that we listen to a lot that means something to us, and I suppose it's the same with our fur babies. They're around us a lot. They know what we like and what we don't like, and ways to get our attention from spirit.
They absolutely do. So it turns out that cats absorb a lot more information than we think they do. There was a study that came out last summer that actually said that cats absorb many more words than we think they do, and our actions and so forth. And that's really true. There was another reading that I did. I think this one was also for a cat. And the cat kept talking to me about Taylor Swift. Now, I listen to 80s music, so because I'm old, but
you're only as old as you say.
I know who she is.
Nothing. I love the 70s and 80s music. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, we're kindred spirits then. So the cat came through and kept repeating Taylor Swift, and it was over and over. And as I went through the reading, asking these questions, the cat would come back to Taylor Swift, and I said, "Oh my gosh, what is with Taylor Swift and this cat?" So when I sent the reading to the woman, she wrote me back and she said, "It's so funny that you mentioned this, because not only does my daughter love Taylor Swift, she resembles Taylor Swift. And every day when she came home from school, she would take the cat up to her bedroom, close the door, and play nothing but Taylor Swift."
I love it. Love it.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Talking about your books, I know you have got Pets and the Afterlife series. You've got that, and you've got series 2, 3. And 4, and I see what you've said, Messages from Spirit Dogs, Messages from Spirit Cats. So that's a whole series there that all gets bought then individual, is that correct? Or is it in a box?
Yeah, you can read them. You can read them individually. You don't need to read all of them.
Yeah, I've bought one, but I will though, because I really do like them. I do like them. They're very good. The next one you've got, I haven't seen this one, On a Medium's Vacation series, and you've got Ghosts of Ireland on a Medium's Vacation. Ghosts of a Birdcage Theatre on a Medium's Vacation, and Ghosts of England on a medium's vacation. Now that sounds really interesting.
Yes.
So what is that about?
Well, it seems that whenever I go on vacation, I actually go on vacation. I have my guard down and I go to relax.
Yeah.
And that's when all the ghosts start talking to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I take a travel journal, I write down every place I visited because I like to blog about it in my personal life about travel. It winds up being the basis for a book every time. And whenever I encounter an earthbound ghost, sometimes I can sketch them out.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll see sketches in my books as well. I don't do that with pets because when people send me pictures of their pets. And you'll find a pet picture, by the way, in every single chapter. So you know the pet that is talking through me. But yeah, so I went to England, Ireland, and the Birdcage Theater is in Tombstone, Arizona, here in the U.S. And it's one of the most haunted places in all of Arizona.
Is it? Yeah. Ooh.
Never heard of it.
But
I've heard of Arizona, but I haven't. I'm not good with geography.
Oh, that's okay. So the way I wrote these books is so that if anybody wants to travel, say to England or different parts of England, and it covers a whole bunch of different cities and towns, or Ireland, I wrote them for people who are interested in driving around and visiting these places. And then you can read my personal experiences with a ghost that I never knew existed before I got there.
Yeah. What ones did you discover in Ireland?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which ghosts? Oh gosh, I met so many.
Did you go around Ireland? Was it down the south of Ireland, north of Ireland, both of Ireland? You know,
I drove all the way around. From Dublin all the way to Galway, down to Cork, and all the way back to Dublin.
Oh, right. Down in the south of Ireland.
Yeah.
I'm in the north of Ireland. But yeah, okay.
I'm going to Cork. Yeah, I'm going to Cork next.
Are you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to Cork next year. I'm going to Ireland in September as well. So I was just whereabouts you were in
Have
Ireland.
you ever been to Downpatrick? Downpatrick is St. Patrick, and it's supposed to be really good. Well, very spiritual place too. Ireland in itself is very spiritual.
Oh yeah, it's lovely. Ireland's beautiful. Yeah.
What's interesting is that getting back to pets, sometimes they will appear to me when I'm on vacation. And my dog Sprite, who passed at 16 and a half years old, he was a dachshund mix. When he passed, the day after he passed, he sent a yellow and black butterfly into our backyard. And we knew it was a sign from him because that butterfly lingered around our other dogs outside, close to the ground, for about 15 or 20 minutes, and they didn't go after it. And if you have a dachshund, you know they will chase rabbits and squirrels and birds and butterflies. They didn't do anything. But so it flew the same way that Sprite would walk. So that became his sign. Mm-hmm. When we were in Ireland and visiting, for some reason, and I know why now, Sprite came to my mind. We were on the Dingle Peninsula, which is on the Atlantic Ocean, and we were in the town of Dingle, and I was talking about Sprite. I said, I was just thinking about Sprite, and so we walked into the next store. It was called the Dolphin Store, and as soon as we opened the door, there was a display of yellow and black butterflies right in the front of the store. And I knew that Sprite had let me know that he was on the trip with us, and he led us right to those butterflies so that it would confirm it. So spirits will visit us on vacation.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
So moving on a little bit, you've on your other series, you've got Ghost Spirit series, and that's Case Files of Inspired Ghost Tracking, Kindred Spirits, How a Medium Befriended a Spirit, and Ghosts and Spirits Explained, Similarities and Differences, and Lessons Learned from Talking to the Dead. Now, is this a whole stream of books, or is it the one?
That's a whole stream. That's 4 separate books in that Ghost and Spirits series.
That sounds interesting. Yeah.
So the case files are actual files, are investigations that I went on with a paranormal group. The lessons learned from talking to the dead, I wrote like a paranormal question and answer book based on all the things that I've learned, and I confirm those things with stories and encounters. The Kindred Spirits book is about a man that I never knew in life that befriended me from the other side. He's actually my husband's late partner that I never met.
Uh-huh.
And I have learned so much about both of them from him. It's like living with two other people.
You got one that tells all the secrets.
Yeah, and it's not the living one.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah.
So all your books are based on a person that you got to know he has passed over. You might not have known them in the living, but you've got to know them in the spirit world and wrote about their story. Is that correct?
That's just the Kindred Spirits book.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So, yep, and all the other ones are either earthbound ghosts on paranormal investigations that I've helped cross over or encountered, or spirits. Like when my dad passed away, he helped me prove to my family, my mother and my brothers, that he was at his own wake and his own funeral with a handkerchief. So that's an interesting story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So there are other stories in there too by spirits of loved ones, like grandmothers and aunts and so forth. And yeah.
Now you're a scientist as well.
I am.
So yeah. So tell us a bit about that then. What kind of scientist are you?
So I'm a meteorologist, and so don't blame me for your weather. But you can give me credit when it's sunny out. So as a scientist, it's important for me to actually prove everything that I get, which is why when I do the vacation Ghosts on the Mediums vacation series, I go home and I try to figure out the identities of the ghosts that I met. And I'm able to do that for the most part. So I also explain everything in terms of science. And that is that the law of conservation of energy states that energy can't be destroyed. It can only be transformed. And as living people, we have energy within us. So I found that it couples with our memories and personality and the knowledge of this life. And then we choose where we go. We can either cross over into the light, and I call that a spirit, or we choose to stay on Earth, which is not a good idea, as an earthbound ghost. No. And it's usually a location that we're familiar with or where we died, like a hospital or prison or battlefield or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, I used to see an awful lot of that when I worked in the hospital as a nurse. I used to see a lot of earthbound ghosts, in the hospital. Yeah, used to see a lot of that. In fact, one night in particular, it was myself and one of the other nurses, and I can remember it was I think it was room 5 at the time, and there was nobody in that actual room at all. It was the only one that was empty. Mm-hmm. But both of us seen this. It was quite funny now when you laugh about it, because the nurse I was on says to me, "Did you see that man in a wheelchair going into room 5? I thought that was empty." And I said, "It is empty." And he says, "Because there's no name up on the board." I said, No, it is empty. There's nobody in room 5. He said, "Yeah, there is, because I just seen a man," he said, "in a wheelchair going into room 5. And so I goes down and I opens the door. Of course, there's nobody there, and I says, "Are you having me on? Are you kidding on?" And he says, "No, and then his face went ashen white, and he said, "No, I'm telling you now, I seen a man in a wheelchair going into that room." So he goes away, and he's looking as well. He's going into because there was a toilet there as well. He's in the toilet looking, and then he went, "Oh, that is really bizarre. That is really bizarre." Do you know? So that was fine. And then later on during the night, did the buzzer not go off in room 5?
Did it go off on room 5? Yeah.
And there was nobody in it. There was nobody there. You know.
Well, he was still there as a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we told the story, you know, when we were doing the handover in the morning, and lo and behold, that became a regular story. From and not all nurses got it, but just certain ones would get it. Do you know, where the room 5 buzzer would go, or they would see this man in the wheelchair, and we had to look back a little bit as to who was in there, and we figured out who it was. And actually, it was a gentleman who was homeless, who came in to be with us, and had been in for a good six weeks.
I've been a safe place for him.
Yeah, and that was like his home. He loved it there.
Yeah.
And he was getting transferred into a hospice, and it never happened. He passed away in the hospital. You know.
Wow.
So there, you do get stories of that.
It's touching. It's really touching to know that that was a safe place for him. That was something that he loved and it was comfortable. And I actually, for my partner's birthday, I booked him over here. We've got the Titanic Hotel, because the Titanic was built here and up the road from where I live. And part of the old drawing office and all is all original as part of the hotel. And we went out with something to eat, and we stayed at the hotel, had something to eat, had a few drinks, and celebrated his birthday, and went to bed. And I woke up with really needing a drink of water, and I happened to look down, and there was this very small man with the wee jacket and the dirty face and the big cap, and he must have been a shipbuilder. And because back then so many died, or they fell, or different things, and I didn't give the same response as you, Alice, because I'd had a few gins, and I can remember going, "No, it's too early in the morning for it to talk. Catch you later." I just smiled at him and went back to sleep. I thought, no, I don't. So it sounds bad that I just went back to sleep, but I think that's where he must have been from Belfast, but he was really small. That sounds really bad, doesn't it? I just shut up.
Well, do you know, Rob, we're come to the end of time now. It's been great to have you onto the show, and I could chat away, keep going, but I know time's limited for you as well. So I'm looking forward to having you back on the show next week, where we will be talking about ghosts and spirits, with lots of stories that we can share. And Yvette's coming on next week as well, because Yvette's got she's got interesting stories there as well, that she can share with us. And also about it's also about helping a ghost transform, you know, into the afterlife as well. So it'll be really interesting that we can share that. Nadia's not going to be with us. Nadia's going away. She's going away to be with her daughter, and I want to not Nadia. Do you know what? I was just looking at Nadia on the
I didn't know Nadia was coming on. I'm off Gallivan.
Nadia's on the comment box here just now. So.
You have some of them gins that I have. I'm off to Liverpool. Liverpool's really spiritual too. I love the energy in Liverpool. But yeah, I'm going to visit my daughter.
Lovely.
And help her pack. Nadia, you know things I don't know.
That's right. I know, just put that on. Nadia, I'd seen your name come up, and see, darling. She's a good friend of mine. You're in my heart and soul, Nadia.
So it was lovely for me to meet you this week, because I won't be there next week. I'm sure it'll be a lovely show, though. It'll be a lovely show.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate it. This has been a great conversation, and you're all wonderful. I look forward to joining you again next week.
Yeah. Yeah, you're getting lots of comments as well coming in, so that's really nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having you on next week as well. So thank you so much for coming on, and I will see you next week, and I'll be in touch as well.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
The
you.
link, etc. Thank you.
care,
Have a lovely day. Have a lovely
You
day.
too.
'Cause I know it's afternoon over there, so
Yes.
have a lovely day. Thank you. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Everybody just stay on now, because we are now continuing on with Yvette Cruz. Okay. Now, as I said earlier on, Yvette is well, you're newly coming out, and it's great to share information, just to get you help a little bit on your journey too. And you can also share what knowledge you've got as well, and what's been happening in your life, and what brought you into spiritualism, and working for Spirit World. Now, I know you are an accredited belief coding facilitator. What is that then, for those who don't understand what that is? Explain that to us a bit.
So it's a healing modality that I came across and was so mind blown by it that I decided to jump in and train to facilitate so that I could help others. Because I'd initially actually trained in it to help myself, but then I saw how it was working on myself. So I started doing it on friends and family members, and then more people. But basically, it is a modality that, if, for example, you have a fear or a phobia or a limiting belief, if there is something that is stopping you from achieving or feeling something that you do want to, like a fear, like, I don't know, you want to go on holiday, but you're scared of planes, we can find the root cause of what triggers that fear to take place, that stops you from stepping into doing what it is that you want to do. And those traumas can come from past lives, they can come from the present life, they can come from ancestral things that you've inherited. Whatever it is, we can find the trauma from the past, we go to that trauma, we heal it, and any negative beliefs that were embedded into the subconscious because of the event that happened, we can override them by coding in new positive beliefs. I hope that makes sense. It's really, really powerful. It was actually created by a lady called Jessica Cunningham, and she spent years learning all the different modalities like EFT, hypnosis, lots of different things. But she actually put the best parts of all of these different modalities into one practice, and it makes it supersonic. It's so powerful. It's incredible, actually. And
how does it work? So if I was coming to you for a session, how would that work?
It can be all. So what you would expect is I would give you an info sheet. It's all done remotely. You can get a facilitator, sort of find one like local to you and do it. Some do face-to-face, but most of it is done remotely on Zoom. I would just give you an information sheet so you know how to prepare yourself. All you would do was have to come hydrated, so make sure you've had water and know kind of what it is your discomfort is, whether it's, what can I do? I'll give you an example. So a friend of mine said she's always had this fear of stairs, going down the stairs. I've known her for years, and every all the years I've known her, she's always white knuckling the wall or something when we have to go down a flight of stairs. And I used to work with her, and it used to make us late sometimes because I'd be waiting for her, like down the steps. But that's what you do when you love your friends. So I'd actually said to her, like, okay, let's do it. Let's find out, where does this fear of your stairs come from? And we did it. We sort of prep your subconscious by doing some tapping. And then we use what's called the human compass, a bit like a human pendulum, to find the answers that are going to lead us to that memory. and it's actually quite magical how it all comes about and how it just works. You just have to trust the process and be open to allowing it to work for you. And we found out that she started getting visions and visuals of teddy bears, and when we find out what the cause was, and it was something like conflict or terror or guilt or regret, anything like that. We'd find out what is the emotion that is being triggered, and then we found out where that emotion was triggered, the memory, the event. And this event that took place was when she was 5 years old, and when we did this session on her, I think she's like 60s, in her early 60s. So she didn't remember consciously this memory of there being concrete steps where her sister had fallen down. She'd witnessed her sister falling down these stairs, and also witnessed the adults panic. So all of that, what she witnessed going on around her, created the belief that stairs are unsafe and that she's going to die. So anytime she saw stairs from that moment, from the age of 5 up until 60 odd, when we did this session, that's what caused her trigger with the stairs, with the fear of the stairs. We found it, we healed the memory, we worked with the subconscious to heal that memory, and then we embedded positive beliefs like, I love flying, I love going down the stairs. I find it so easy to flow down the stairs. Like when I see stairs, I get excited and flow down them. She actually created them herself, so it's all about wording that you would use, that you resonate with. And the next day I messaged her and I said, "Oh, how are you?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And I said, how did you do? Because she actually lives in a block of flats where she has to go up a flight of concrete stairs, funnily enough. And I said, "Oh, did you notice that, how do you feel?" Like, we always plan sort of a test of how can you test that this worked for you afterwards. And within I think it was like a couple of days, she sent me a video of her at a train station. She had her flip-flops on. She was like, wee, like recording herself running down these concrete stairs at the station. And I was like, oh my goodness. And it was one of the very first sessions that I'd actually done for somebody else other than myself. So it's just incredible where the traumas come from, and some of them can come from that you've inherited from your parents, that you've that been absorbed from them, even from inside the womb. When you've been in your mother's womb, your mother could have experienced something, and that can also, it's incredible. It's so mind-blowing.
My sister's petrified of lifts. When I was having our youngest daughter, I'd just had our youngest daughter, and my partner went to go out for the camera. He'd left the camera in the car, so he went to get the camera to take pictures. And I'd says to her, you need to take me down to get me some air. But she didn't put 2 and 2 together, and had to go down in the chair. And we got to the corridor, and she was like, "How are you getting down?" And I went, "You'll have to take me in the lift." And she was like, no, I'm not getting in. And she's really scared of the lifts. So I don't know whether she would get claustrophobic. So I don't know whether it's the claustrophobic bringing in their lift, or if that's very interesting. I'm going to say to her, she should be checking this out.
It is.
Why she's scared of a lift.
I mean, for me, I love to do the ones where someone has a fear or a phobia, because when you can see them doing the one thing that they could never do or shake off, it blows my mind. But it actually works with I did a session on myself. I had lockjaw. I've always suffered with lockjaw, but ever since I did it on myself, I haven't had lockjaw. Like I think they call it, I can't remember what the actual name is, but yeah, lockjaw. What else? God, it works on so many things. I've actually done it when I've gone through like anxiety when I used to work in corporate. I used it on myself to do that. I've done, it's quite.
So you're using it to help heal physical issues, physical issues in your health, if it's to heal, you're able to heal the lockjaw, the anxiety. Say somebody has a lot of stomach problems, but they don't realize that it's actually the fear of moving forward, or so spiritually, if we can heal in the spiritual, we always work in the physical. So although you're healing in the physical, you're helping in the mindset and the spiritual. It has that physical impact.
Yeah, it works. It works on so many. Honestly, it works on. What's the other one? I don't know how to pronounce it, so you'll have to excuse. It's called fibromyalgia.
Fibromyalgia.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that it's worked wonders on with that. Yeah, it's been out there now. This actual healing modality has been out there now for, I mean, I've been doing it for 2 years, and I think I came across it when it was like out there for a year and a half or 2 years. So it's still getting out there. That actually it's becoming a lot more well known. So yeah, it's just incredible. It's well, I can't even describe how many different things it works on.
I have a question for you. What would you say would help with psoriatic arthritis? I suffer from that. And the psoriasis.
I did have a client who, and well, it's not. I don't know if it's the same thing, but she suffered from sciatica.
All right, no, that's different.
Well, her one, it worked with sciatica. Yeah, she went from
psoriasis as well. I mean, at the moment, I've got it really bad all around me.
Is it not stress? Does that the skin? Is it not stress with the skin?
I don't feel stressed though. I don't feel stressed.
I'm more than open to helping you find out, because if
there's something causing it, and I've heard psoriatic arthritis. Well, psoriasis affects your skin. Psoriatic arthritis affects your joints and internally as well. Yeah. So it's not just your skin. But I have heard stories about where it stems from, something deep rooted, or it can stem from a past life as well. Because a lot of people who have this, they're on treatment for it, but the treatment doesn't take it away. It just helps. It does.
It's like putting a plaster over something, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, not getting into
the core of it. Yeah. I just wanted to compare across that. Yeah.
I haven't, but I'm sure.
You're up for the challenge.
I am up for the challenge, and I will actually go into the community and find out, has anyone done this? Like, I have as well. Like, there's always so many different things that within the community with the facilitators, because it's growing. So many people want to train to do it and get it out there, because it works on yourself. You can do it on yourself, but you can help others. So slowly, they're building a massive portfolio of all of the different things that is actually possible to work with. I know there was someone with a heart condition that I'd heard that something had worked with a heart condition where he didn't have to take medication anymore.
That's pretty cool. If it, like the heart, even sciatica and arthritis, and I think that's pretty cool that you can have that impact.
I used to have dermatitis, sort of the skin psoriasis. Cleared it, gone. Doesn't
That's what Alice is asking you. That's what she's talking about.
I thought you said arthritis.
No, she's asking you for two, arthritis.
So I've done that with when I had a flare up, I was like, let me try and see if it works with this. And it doesn't come back anymore. If I see a little bit of a flare up, to me, that's a sign that there's another level of healing that is ready to be released. So I'll go in and do another little session. So it's kind of like layers of an onion. Like you get rid of that first big layer, and then you're fine. And you might find a little bit of a trigger, like it might come back a little bit more, but that's just a sign that there's another level of healing another one that's come up ready. So I believe triggers are signs that something is ready to be healed and dealt with. So whether that's through a modality or meditation or something, I find I try to take triggers as a way of, as a positive, really. Most people would take it as a negative, but I think a trigger is a good thing because it's another thing that I can work on to heal and
it's
release.
a healing thing, isn't it? It's, what I've got is, it's called psoriatic arthritis. So it is psoriasis, but it's also arthritis. So they call it PSA. It's psoriatic arthritis. It is the one word, you know. So, and they call it PSA. It attacks your internal organs as well, you know. But it's definitely got something to do with a healing process. Here's somebody else asking as well. Hardeep is asking here. Welcome, Hardeep. Have you cured someone with a phobia of dogs? Now, I think Hardeep has had a bad experience with dogs.
I have a phobia of rats, actually.
Yeah.
Anything like that.
And mice. Oh, Judith, do you want to give it?
I struggle with 2 guinea pigs in a big cage.
I've always had a massive phobia of rats and mice. And when I actually worked on myself to find out, where does this phobia come from? Because I kid you not, I've broken every single plate in my dad's house thinking I saw something run across the floor when it was just a leaf moving in the draft. And
of course.
I threw every plate that I could find and broke them. But that's how bad my phobia is.
I would just run.
Remember, I had cats, so they'd bring little presents of field mice as presents for me, and I'd be like, oh my God, I need to wait for. I'd call my dad, say, Dad, one of my cats. That's how bad it was. I'd have to get someone in to get rid of the mouse, or even if it was like not moving anymore, I would be frozen. But
so have you cured that fear of a rat?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. So I cured it to the point where I can see them and I can look at them, and I kind of actually feel very compassionate towards them now. But I would not go there and be like friends and put one in my hand. But there's things called secondary gains. Yes. So it's like secondary gains. I have a belief. So I've cleared the fear of the mice and the rats. So I'm more comfortable around them. Like, I don't break everything in sight if I think I saw one anymore. But I have this, what we call a secondary gain, that my belief of being fearful of rats and mice keeps me safe. Mm-hmm. But I'm not ready to let that one go yet. No. So I have not done that second one, but I'm okay as long as I'm comfortable. Like, if I see one, I'm not having a small stroke anymore. I'm okay with that. Like, I don't need to be besties and have them like sitting on my shoulder. So I'm okay with how the level that I've healed it to. So
as Hardeep's asking, you know, you could help somebody overcome the fear of dogs. She's also talking about being a backseat passenger. So again, that's came up to.
Yeah, I actually helped someone who had a fear of driving. She had a car. She had it and it was sat on her drive. She didn't drive it, I think, for like 4 or 5 years. One session with her. And as I've said to her at the end, so what are you going to do to test it out to see if it worked? Before we even logged out of the Zoom call, she grabbed her keys and said, I'm going for a drive. And then she was like, yeah, she's been she's been the designated driver for every time. She's running everyone to the airport. And yeah, it used to hold her back because she could never do anything without relying on someone else to take her to an appointment or be free to get her from A to B. That one was quite big. So it does, well, for her, she was the driver. But if it works for the driver, I'll bet my money that it would work on as a passenger.
Yeah.
Are you going to try it, Alice?
Well, I'll try anything because I'm pretty desperate with it now, to be honest.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what you felt and how
it is really interesting, because the spiritual side actually comes into those sessions sometimes as well. Whether you believe in the spiritual stuff, like I've had it where my mum, who passed away many years ago, she's come in like to help. It's really interesting, really interesting. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I'm just, if I move on a little bit, I know that you do heart center healing. So what is this about then?
So this is a sort of like an energy healing.
Like the heart math. Is it like the heart math?
It's a energy healing sort of session, a bit like Reiki, or I think it's different to Reiki, but it's energy healing. It's for you know the energetic body, rather, the healing of the energetic body, and it's a modality or a healing, a way that spirit have actually led me to do and use, because previously I have been Reiki attuned. I've also been attuned to Galactic Trio, which are all different types of energy healing. It's just depending on what frequency, like Reiki connects to the life force, I think it is, and my other healing that I did an attunement with is galactic sort of healing energy. But now from those, my spirit guides have sort of shown me and led me to kind of like my own way of doing it. And how it works is I connect with the person's higher self. And this works really well with children, actually, because I will go to, if it's a child, obviously they're young, it's normally the parents saying, can you try and help, my child? But, coming from a place of integrity, I would like to connect to the child's higher self, ask permission from the child's higher self for them to do the healing. They're always normally up for it. I've never had a no. But actually, it's with the higher self that I work with that knows exactly what that they need, like the child. They know exactly what it is that child needs to feel better, to be aligned to their higher self, to be aligned to their highest timeline, to be well. So it's actually with the higher self that I actually work with. And then the higher self can sometimes bring in and call in different ascended masters, spirit guides, spirit animals to come in to help facilitate the healing that's needed. Because we also work on clearing, balancing and aligning the chakras as well, which is really interesting, because I will normally pre-check the chakras before the session. And after the session, I'll check it again after. And the ones that were not balanced or had blockages, they've all been aligned. And it blows my mind. I actually really enjoy doing it with children, but it works for adults as well.
I think that would be really good with children, because you're really, you're catching it at the early stages, aren't you? Before it really starts getting deeper, rooted and growing. So that's, and you've had some great outcomes with children as well, I take it.
Yes. So, let me see. For example, I'll give you my nephew, for example, actually. He's 7. He's always been scared of going off to a different part of the house on his own, or going to the bathroom on his own. Like, he's just always, even if you left the room, he'd be like, where are you going? And he'd want to sort of come with you. And I did a session on him, and I just so happened to be actually staying with them, visiting one day. And I thought, I'm going to ask his higher self if he's okay for me to do this healing. And his higher self said yes, did it. All the chakras were balanced, cleansed and aligned. And at 6 o'clock the following morning, because I did this when he was asleep, so with children,
I was going to ask, are the children sleeping when you do that?
So with the children, my guides have said it's more beneficial for the children if they're resting or asleep. So I normally have to go in when it's nighttime and connect and do that if it's for a child. If it's for an adult, it's very similar to any other, the way you would sort of both set up the same time. I would be here doing what I do, and then my client would be like in a nice relaxed state, sitting or resting or just lying down. But with children particularly, it's best for them to be asleep when I'm doing it. So the next morning after he'd woken up really early that morning, and normally I think it was 6 o'clock, and he would normally drag someone out of bed and say, come with me to the bathroom. He got out of bed and went to the bathroom on his own. And even I was like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? So it's just little things like that I've noticed. And even the next day, he was at home and I sort of went into the room and I was sort of just actually went to go and give him a little cuddle. And you know what he told me? He said, I think I'm all right. I prefer to be on my own. Okay. Walking away like really happy but brokenhearted inside because he didn't have this fear of being on his own in a room anymore. And I was like, I don't know whether or not to cry or be happy because my nephew doesn't want to cuddle from me anymore. But I've done it as well on my niece, and my niece is a little bit older. She's kind of like very typical teen, a nightmare to get out of bed, a nightmare to get ready for school. Very, very, you don't really want to talk to her in the morning.
Not a morning person.
No, but I'd actually done this session on her, and I think it was a Sunday night. And the next morning, I could not believe it. She got out of bed before her alarm went off. You didn't even have to say anything to her. I blinked and she was ready, had breakfast, and she was like, bye, see you later, going off. I was like, who is she? Who is that girl? Because she has never, ever been like that. And I actually caught up with my sister a couple of days ago because it's been about a month since I did that with her kids. There's a third one as well I've done it for too. And I caught up with her. I said, have you noticed, she was like, Yvette, I don't know what you did, but there's a difference. I mean, what kind? So, I'm trying to like find out what kind of. She went, well, I don't want to sound bad or anything. She went, but I'm not telling them off as much. They're so cool. They're like so calm and they're getting on so well. And it's like, she went, there is a massive difference because I don't have to go into the room to break up a fight or to or siblings.
Have you done that with where children's concerned? Children who would have really bad nightmares, they're scared of children who are scared of the dark, going to sleep at night. Sometimes children are scared of shadows, like cupboard doors or, doors being open or closed, or children, bedwetting. So have you been able to do a variety of different things with children with this?
So far, there hasn't been anything like that because the parents would normally come to me and sort of say, oh, I'm noticing this in my child. Like, do you think this, can you give it a go? And I was like, okay, but I set the intention with, well, I ask, if the child is old enough and they're aware, like, and consenting before we go into the session, I'll sort of say, like, what is it? How do you, say to them, like, write a little intention. How do you want to feel afterwards? Or do you want to feel a certain way? But I'll always set an intention for whatever is for their greatest good. And if there is something that I know, actually I did one for a friend where her daughter, she's been under the weather and her daughter's got a competition. So she wants, it's kind of like in a few days' time. So other than, the chakras and the alignment and whatever is for her highest good, I also put in the intention there when I'm talking to the higher self. She's got a competition on Sunday and she wants to, feel well enough to enjoy it. Sort of trying to And obviously the higher self already knows. So she's like, yeah, I know, leave it to me. And I'm like, okay. Like, so the higher self already knows exactly what it is that child needs at that moment in time. So they're the ones that kind of lead me through what they are gonna heal, if that makes sense. Yeah. I take my direction from them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's really good when you think, you know, as parents, you've got children going through school, you might have children going through bullying, you might have children getting like their exams, their GCSEs, even up to A levels or, you know, higher. You know, there's actually a big audience for that when you think about it. My husband would love that. For me, not a woman.
My husband would love that if you did that for me, because I'm not a morning person. That Hardy. We're putting that in the comment box. Brilliant.
Yeah. But it's amazing. It is amazing actually when you think about that, how expansive that is.
Yeah.
In everyday life, in every way. And what's the hardest one that you've came across? Sorry, my fur baby wants out. What's the hardest one you've came across?
It's the hardest one. I would say I don't think any of them have been sort of the hardest. The most sensitive one, I would say, and I don't actually know what the result is, but I'm feeling quite positive about it because I had messages from Spirit giving me a couple of inklings to pass over to the client. But probably someone who was struggling with fertility, actually. And she was feeling very, very down. And yeah, I did a session with her. She set her intention. Now, sometimes the client will tell me what their intention is, and then when I'm writing mine, I will sort of base it on that. But even if they don't want to, they want to keep it private, I will always align my intention to whatever is theirs, and for their questions to be answered and met, if that makes sense. And I had this one session, and it was actually pretty mind-blowing because I had been shown a baby, like a grandmother had shown me a baby. This is whilst the healing is happening. Other things were sort of starting to drop in. So a grandmother had shown me a baby. I had asked, is this baby a spirit baby from the past, or is this something to come in the future? And I was told, coming in the future. And I was like, okay, cool. And then one of the things that popped up was I'd also been told, there's a question, the answer is 3. I'm like, okay. So I kind of remembered it. And when the session was finished, I asked the client, how are you feeling? And she was like, I don't know what you did, but I conked out. That she had passed out the entire 45 minutes, 1 hour session that it took. But she was brought back right as I'd reached out and said, I've finished, kind of. It was very perfect, perfect timing. And she said, I don't know what you did, but I feel amazing. Like, I was like, oh, good. Like, that's, it's nice to hear that someone feels so positive, like straight after. And I sort of gave her the feedback. And, when it comes to things like fertility and children, it's a little bit of a sensitive subject. So I said, something did come up with a child. I did ask a couple of questions. Would you like to know what I asked and what the answer was, like what I was given? So I told her, and she was like, when I told her the answer was 3 to whatever question, I went, you've got a question. I believe you've got a question that you have been asking. I was told that whatever the question that you're asking, the answer is 3. And hers was related to the child, like a baby. So I'm waiting very excitedly for some updates.
Yeah.
But she was feeling so much better because and uplifted, and yeah, I could really feel her energy afterwards. Like
Yeah.
it was so much more calmer and at peace, and yeah, it was just really, really lovely to witness. And when I realized, you know, when I saw the baby, I realized, okay, this is a fertility thing. That's the only thing that made me feel a bit like it wasn't that it was difficult, because I just trusted in spirit and trusted in the higher self to deliver whatever it is for the person's highest good. And I trust whatever information or answers or little nuggets, I call them, whatever spirit want to give me to pass over, I'll pass it over as well. Sometimes there's something, sometimes there's nothing. But yeah, it resonated. Whatever I'd passed on had resonated to her, so that gave her lots of upliftment, and that was all I wanted, for her to feel better than what she was feeling initially. So yeah.
Because vibration and energy is so important as well, you know, because if you get down and your energy becomes lower, and you know, then you get into that kind of rut of, oh, this is never going to happen, then it probably won't, you know.
You're creating what you're manifesting, really.
So I mean, it's
you're really self-prophetizing there, aren't you?
Absolutely. I mean, I do know someone, and I'm sure there's many other stories that was told during IVF and fertility treatment that it failed many times, and it was just a case of we're told, well, there's nothing wrong, you know, there's nothing physically in your anatomy between both of you that's wrong, but it's just not, you're not compatible together in some way, and it's just not happening, and we cannot see where this could lead, you know, because there's nothing we can do to make it right, because there's nothing there that we can see is wrong. And they went through that, and lo and behold, when they accepted that, okay, this is just not going to happen, we're not going to have a family, and we're going to just relax into our life and enjoy our life. And when they went on that route, they went on holiday, and it was like a year later, and they went on holiday, not thinking about anything else, you know. They'd already know in their head that they knew that's where they were going, and that was it. And she came back, and she thought she could be maybe going through the early menopause, but she wasn't feeling great. And she went to the doctors, and she said, well, I'm going through the early menopause. I'm not, you know, I'm going through all the symptoms, etc. And lo and behold, she was pregnant, you know, and you know, and she's got a child. She's I think the child's about 6 now, and she's got a child, you know. So but it was when they actually started to get that pressure and relax, and then they just said, well, okay, we went through everything, we've done everything, there's nothing we can do about it, and they accepted, well, that's just the way it's going to be, and relaxed into it, and they went on holiday. So and so the baby was conceived in Tenerife.
But it just shows, you know, how much when you take the pressure off yourself, how magic things can be.
She couldn't believe it. She could not believe it. You know, she was shocked, Judith, shocked to the core. She was, but so happy, you know, but could not believe it, because eventually, after all that time of fighting and carrying on and fighting and carrying on, they just accepted, okay, well, we've done all we can, you know, and then
I have a relative, and they never had children, and I would say a good 20 years of their marriage, and then they went separate ways, and they both met new partners, and my family, and they fostered. They fostered because they found the love, they were giving it to, to children who didn't have that love. And it's so strange because once they started giving the love to the children who desperately needed it, they were raising these children as their own. They then had 3 children of their own. And as you say, I think you have to be happy in yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to really take that pressure, and your situation has to be right too. We might think it's right, but it's maybe not right. But they fostered and give a lot of love to a lot of children, and a lot of hope to children who didn't have it. And then they had 3 children of their own.
Yeah, I think an awful lot. The mind is powerful.
I've actually shared a post today saying the mind is a powerful tool. Use it wisely.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I don't think people realize how powerful the mind is. And yet we only use a small fraction of it.
Yeah, absolutely. When you can see, when you think, even like what Yvette's doing with just the healing, and it's rest or mess, you're doing your mediumship in your way, with your healing. But when you think of the differences and the changes that's making, if you would put that all into like a full big kind of, like, think of schools, think of nurseries, we've always said, haven't we, Alice? We reckon it should be, it should be talked about in schools, your spiritual side, and I definitely, and as Alice pointed out earlier, you're getting it early on.
Yeah.
Like my grandson, he used to be really scared of the dark, and I know he's grown up now, but at the time he used to be really scared of the dark, and he would have had bad dreams. And he loves his crystals, and he loves his angels, and I said to him, ask your guardian angel every night before you go to sleep to make sure only allow the good dreams to come and visit, not to allow the bad dreams to visit. And I says, and if you ask your guardian angel that, your guardian angel will stop the bad dreams and only allow the good dreams. And he has every faith in that, and he does that every night. And he's never had a nightmare since.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's powerful. It's very, very powerful.
Yeah. Think of the difference you could make with children's lives.
Yeah.
I do actually want to create something that is going to help children, whether it's not even just about the healing, the energy healing that I'm doing with them, but I do want to create something that is, I've sort of started getting the little bits coming to me, the little nuggets and puzzles from spirit. So I've been jotting them down because they're not coming in order. They're just coming in random order, these puzzle pieces. But I am going to create something that is going to, my vision is that when it comes to children, we can catch it before they have to grow up with all of these traumas and stuff and limiting beliefs that we pick up as we're growing older. And then when we're older, then we have to do all the deep inner child healing. Why not do it before it comes to that stage, so that children can empower themselves to know how to deal with the little things, like if someone at school has hurt them and they're upset with them, we can find something that's going to help them to learn forgiveness or understanding or something. And to help them stay connected to spirit and angels and the fairies, because
keep that childlike, allow them that childlike, innocent childhood.
We all have that connection when we're born, and it's only lost when we're growing and getting older. So, but no one's actually teaching children how to stay connected, unless you're very lucky and have a very spiritual parent or grandparent in the family, or a loved one who's older, who can sort of, that's kind of what I do to my niece and my nephews. I'm like, oh, angels, like try and drop it in whenever I can. But I actually want to create something that is going to help children to stay connected so that they don't lose that connection And as they get older, it's only going to get stronger. And then how beautiful a life you're going to live when you're connected to spirit all the time.
So here's the question.
Definitely.
Have you ever helped a child with ADHD? Because that's really big now, isn't it? It's you hear a lot of it.
They're coming. They are coming, and I did do a session with a young sort of teen, and I believe she does have sort of like an ADHD kind. I don't know. I'm not really good with the terminologies, but it wasn't brought to me. That information wasn't sort of. They've not been diagnosed, but it's something that the parent believes that they have. And I did do a session with them not long ago. And but I do know that I've got a couple more sessions already coming in with children who have got ADHD, like their parents have said, my child has ADHD. So I'm really, really actually very excited to try and do that and see what kind, how they feel afterwards, what the parents notice, the changes in them. So that
would be pretty massive, because when you think about it, Alice, you're a nurse, so you would understand this more than me. I can only from what I hear, but I know our youngest daughter used to childmind for children, and the 3 children had ADHD, and she used to say, Mom, if they didn't have their medication, she was like, really, it was hard work, really hard work. But then the children didn't like the medication because it zonks them, or
it does.
You would know more what I'm talking about, Alice, with like the medication side of things. But think of
some adults don't like it. Some adults come off it because it just flattens them completely. And I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on this. But don't you think, like, compared to when we were younger, there's an awful lot more labels to things now. Kids are getting labeled, at a very, very young age. Children
are being given antidepressants now. Like children are being given antidepressants. It's scary.
Even at a really young age, kids are getting labeled of ADHD, or what's the other one? There's ADHD, and there's another one that they talk about. Can't remember the name of it offhand.
Autism,
yeah. Different, there's, when I was younger, there was nothing like, there was no labels like that. There was no labels like that. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying that I think people are quick now to label than more heal, and it's like, you've got that, you'll always have that, and and here, take that medication.
You don't think too, Alice, what you're saying, and I agree. I agree 100% with what you're saying. But knowing what you know now, looking back, a lot of these children are very sensitive. They're they're having different labels, and it's because they're so spiritual, they're so sensitive, so empathic, and they're so in tune with the energies around them.
Absolutely.
The GPs, they don't understand the holistic side. They don't understand the spiritual side.
They don't want to.
And it's made people, a lot of time people are made feel like, you're stupid, or like your head's gone, or that's woo-woo, when it's really, it's not, because like children are very open spiritually, and they don't. When you put a label on them, it's like when you tell somebody something for long enough, they're going to believe it.
Of course they will. Of course they will. Yeah. I totally agree.
I think a lot of that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I think, young children are still connecting with their higher self and where they are physically as well, and they're going between, you know, it's confusing them, it's, you know, maybe baffling them in a lot of ways, and they're going from one extreme to the next, and then you've got somebody then labeling them with this condition, putting them on medication that's making them even more, you know, confused with it all, you know. But I just feel that is the road now that we have went on, and I agree with Yvette. I think, you know, if we could get it into the schools, a more holistic approach, you know, I believe that, you know, things would be so much different, and they would look at things differently. Children would look at things differently. They would maybe go in and find that peace, and they would go in and they would think, okay, well, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to ask. I'm not saying my angel, but if it was an angel, that's fine. Or I'm going to go and get that peace. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to sit, and I'm just going to, you know, feel on my own for a little while. You know, take nice deep breaths. You know, just beautiful colors around my body. You know, you can make it so beautiful for children. You know, it's I think it's quite sad.
And you can play games. You know, like I used to always say to people, you know, you can help ground your children without them knowing that, you know, you can make it fun. You can play games. You know, I used to do that with my grandson, and I didn't tell him I was grounding him, because I knew he was so attuned. He is so spiritually open. And when he was younger, I used to play the tree games, and of course you have to lose because they always win, because they want to go deeper. You know, they want to ground those roots deeper and deeper. And we can play games with them. One, we're making it fun. We're interacting. We're building that bond. We're spending that time with our children. But at the same time, we're grounding them. We're keeping them grounded and centered and balanced by simple interactions and simple games. And, you know, that there alone is a lot of mediums have ADHD.
A lot of mediums have ADHD and so gifted. I don't know.
I think, honestly, medication, I can only speak for myself. Spirit has started showing me the difference and how much we can help ourselves spiritually, holistically. I'm very into like the herbs, the fruits, like kiwis. I started buying kiwis. We had this conversation with bananas, Alice. and I started buying kiwis. And I think I was telling you that I was wanting to buy kiwis, and my partner said to me, "Why are you buying kiwis?" And I was like, I don't know, just something told me I had to buy them. And you know, they hold more potassium in a kiwi than 2 medium bananas. And they're antioxidants, and like, so I've really switched fully to like my oregano herbs. They're anti-inflammatory. They're the strong antibiotic.
There's so much in food. There's so much in food.
Yeah.
You know, even turmeric is another one. Turmeric is really, really good for arthritis.
And your stomach.
Yeah, it's good for your stomach, which is you would think it wouldn't be, you know, you would think it wouldn't be because of maybe the kind of spice in it, but it actually is good for your stomach. It's good for arthritis. It's, you know, it holds so much. But see, when you think back of like, and I'm going back long ago, before we were even born, you know, people used natural earthbound herbs, you know, to heal themselves, and it worked. I'm not saying it worked on all occasions, but they, you know, in fact, the Indians, they
had medicine doctors,
you know, they could turn their hands to anything, and they could heal. You know.
But then if you take away a lot of the stuff that children are being given right now, even the mindsets that's being, you know, the society, the way it's building up around children, and the way things is being. Like, if there was a program brought into schools or even after school, or even for parents to take their children to. Like if something like that progressed and expanded, really, your children's not going to have all these side effects from these medications. And a lot of times children are misdiagnosed. A lot of times spiritual people are misdiagnosed
Oh
too.
gosh, yeah.
You know,
Schizophrenia is one of them.
Yeah.
Schizophrenia. Oh, we're on a roll tonight, aren't we, Judith?
Yeah. we've suddenly like, okay, here we're suddenly.
Oh, you've started something here a bit. Yeah, you've got started. Yeah.
Yvette, honestly, I really, really do wish you all the success in what you're doing and going forward, because I see that having a massive role in people's lives going forward. Difference and that you can make. And as a parent, if that had been open to me and I'd understood at that time when my children were young, I 100% would have went down that road.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But
You're a big road, Yvette, big path.
Thank you.
We've reached our time here. Yep, someone's put something on. What's this? Just reading this just now. What's this? Honestly, Alice, it has been my biggest learning from those I've seen in social platforms. For example, over 50% of ones I've seen and heard on TikTok have said, I don't know what they've said. What have they said? All right, yeah, here it is. Holistic
therapy
and turmeric ginger. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally agree with you there as well. But we've got to the end of our time, Yvette. I'm looking really forward to also having you back on the show next week, where we'll all be talking about ghosts and spirits. And I know we've all got stories to tell about that, but also the interesting part is how we I know you've got that experience of how you're guiding them over to the afterlife and spirit world. And Rob will be on next week. He's got lots of interesting stories about that, and he's got books as well that he's wrote, so it'll be a very interesting topic to talk about. He's also got photographs etc as well that he's got, so that'll be really interesting.
I'll not be with you next week, and I know you are really going to miss me.
Of course we're going to miss you, but you've got to have a break. You've got to have a break. You do have to have a break.
I am looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. So
everybody needs a break, and everybody needs a holiday. And that's another thing I could get started on. How we don't do that and look after ourselves at times. But I won't start on that subject.
We'll be here all night.
We'll be here all night. But before we close over, I've got a few things I would like to mention, but I would like to also thank Yvette Cruz for being on. I'm looking forward to part 2 next week. A lot of interesting stuff's coming up, so I'm looking forward to having you on with us, and thank you for being on here this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a few things I'd like to mention. I will be at Aberdeen Spiritualist Centre and Healing, and it will be this Saturday that I will be there. I'm doing a workshop on the Saturday. I think it's 10 o'clock till 4. So if anybody's interested, please contact Aberdeen Spiritualist Centre and Healing. They're taking bookings, and I know they've got quite a lot of bookings so far. So if you're interested in the workshop on the Saturday, it will be Ignite Your Soul, mediumship for beginners and progressive group. And Sunday morning, I will be doing the divine service at the centre as well. I'd also like to just mention as well, Thursday, June the 27th at the Arden Cable Hotel in Helensburgh in Scotland. There will be a mediumship and psychic demonstration, plus angel card readings and an angel card to take home for those who have had their readings on that night. There will be 2 free prizes in a competition as well, and it will be 7:30 to 9:30 with Stuart Latimer and myself. Tickets can be bought through Eventbrite or through me. Just contact myself either through my website or email or through Facebook. Sunday, the 23rd of June, if anybody's interested in this, it's the Sparkle of Light Spiritual Centre and School online, and it's a beginners and progressive workshop that I will be running. It is on from 1 o'clock till 5, and anybody interested in knowing a little bit more about it, get in touch with me. Tickets can be bought through Eventbrite or through myself, but if you want more information, just get in touch. What about yourself, Judith? What's been going on with you? What's happening?
Well, my episode 7 of Prophetic News is out this Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. Spirit's been really kind of mixing it up amongst, they're giving some predictions, but then they're really unraveling the truths. I'm loving it. They're really kind of showing us what we think is secrets and mysteries, or what we believe. They're very much showing us the simple truths to not everything is what black and white. So that episode 7, it's doing really well. So I'm looking forward to it. It's out this Sunday. And with the circle, I was going to say sparkle. I'm with the Circle of Light Spirituals Church on the 13th of June. I'm doing their service, so I look forward to doing that. They're always so lovely. And I'm putting together my podcast. And my podcast, I think, will be once a month with Jolene Del Masso from Australia, a lovely medium. And it's about Spirits podcasts. So it's their voice, their podcast is what it's called. And it's very much following on from the Prophetic News, as where it's not for like messages of readings or whatever. It's for people to interact live, ask questions, and Spirit will, as in, what we were talking about earlier, the Antarctic, the North Pole, all the secrets and the conspiracies that we hear, and all the secrets of the world. So it'll be about that. And I very much want to give Spirit that platform, because everything I do, it's always Spirit based. And I feel they deserve that platform,
That's why I started this. That's why I started it. It was to give Spirit this platform of getting there into the community. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Although this is it's a completely different theme and a completely different style. It's very much open to what people are at. It's not for live readings, and it's not for the chat, like as in guests or anything like that in any way. It's basically really for people to ask those questions. Why is the moon not real? Explain why is the moon not real, and let Spirit come back and answer those questions. So it's very much like that. It's very much about the wonders of the world. I want to say like that, wonders of the world. And at the moment, I'm priming it for once a month, because I am up and running with my new website now. I want to get out and do other things. So it's very important that that I set a sensible goal. So I'm looking forward to it, because I always like to do things something different in that sense. So I am looking forward to it, because you never know. Yes, it could be the White Wall, or it could be about the North Pole and the star constellations. But that's what it's very much about. It's very much about the wonders of the world.
Great. What about yourself, Yvette? What have you got coming up? What have you got?
Well, just regular work in the regular world, really. I actually have like a day job where I just do administration. So I'll be just doing that, to be honest with you. I actually have a couple of healing sessions with people in the evenings. And that's it. I'm not really out there on social media and platforms and stuff, but that will change. I've already been told that's going to change.
And it's okay for people to contact you, Yvette, if people listening tonight enjoyed what you do and would like to try it themselves. Can they contact you?
Yes, of course. I'll leave my details with you guys. And
I've been putting it on anyway, darling,
Oh,
because I was under the assumption that's what I was to do. So so because I was given your details, so I put it on and it's been under you. So if anybody does want to contact you, then they can do so through the information that I was given for the show.
Lovely. Thank you.
All right, so I would like to say I would love and leave you all. I'd like to say good night to everybody. I'd also like everyone to please look after yourself.
Subscribe.
Yeah.
I thought that's what you were going to say. I was saying yes.
Please subscribe. Please, it's free. It does help us. It helps us a lot. Okay. So, and on saying that, I would like to say good night. Look after yourself. God bless, and thank you so much for joining us this evening.